Most of the things that control our actions, shape our world, most of them are not real. They are not true. By the end of this video, I'm going to prove that to you and show you a way that might help you break free from this cycle of lies and live your life as a free man, as I am trying to. Hi, my name is Ali Hambal. What I'm about to share with you has changed the way I view the world, and I hope it will help you too. Now, in 2004, there was a study conducted by the University of Michigan. It's about how movies can raise or lower your hormone level. What they did was to group people into three groups. The first group was made to watch a documentary movie. The second group was made to watch a romantic movie. And the third group was made to watch an action crime-like movie. They tested these groups before and after they watched these movies. What they found out was the group that watched the documentary actually saw no change in their hormones. However, the group that watched the romantic movie and the action movie actually saw some changes in their hormones. Some males actually have their testosterone level rise when they watch Don Canyon in the Godfather movie. This is so fascinating. How is it that things we see on the screen affect us in a biological level? We feel it so real that it affects our moods, yet what we are seeing on the screen are actually not real. How is it possible that something that is not real could have a real effect in our system? This is so fascinating. This got me to realize that it doesn't matter whether we believe something to be true or not. If we see it, it will have that power to control our emotions, just the way we get controlled by what we see on the screen, despite our knowledge of the fact that what we are seeing on the screens are not real. They are simply acts, and we relate to those acts. Now, even more fascinating is, we know some of these heroes and villains that we see on the screens. Some of them are not really what we see on the screens. Some of the heroes we see on the screen are simply assholes in the real life. Yes, we relate to them as heroes on the movies, and we forget who they really are in the real world. And some of the people that act as villains in the movies are actually very innocent, very kind-hearted, never hurt a fly in the real world, yet we get related to them, attached to their acting and their characters in the movie. Two things you would realize: that we get attached to the characters in action more than the people themselves. So for example, if a person is acting in front of you, you will get attached to his acting more than who he really is. This explains why we know people, but then when they are lying in front of us, we forget who they are and we believe what they tell us. We know who they are, yet when they act in front of us, we get attached to that acting. We believe them for their acting and forget who they really are. This is so fascinating that we would get attached to the act more than we get attached to the real. What is acting anyway? What is a movie? Anyway, movie is simply stories. So the best told stories has the better chance of affecting us the most. So these are stories written by some of the most incredible producers, acted by some of the most talented actors. And when they are done in such a profound way, they have the better chance to affect us in a deeper way. So we get emotional when we watch a movie, a story that is being told to us. Even when we know they are not real, we get emotional. We draw tears, we burst into laughter, we get scared simply because we are watching something on the screen that we know for sure are not true. We get related to the heroes and the villains when they are acting the characters in the movie, even when we know for real that these villains and these heroes are not the heroes in real world and they are never the villains in the real world. But we get attached to the acting more than we get attached to the real. So when a person is acting in front of us, we forget who he really is and we get attached to the acting that he is presenting in front of us. We know he is never to be trusted, but because he is putting a very good act, we get attached to those acting. Now, this is the profound statement made by Jordan Peterson. He says, you have to view the world through a story. So the story that are being told to us are the stories that we get affected by. The question is, what story do you choose to believe? What story do you allow yourself to listen to? As I just explained to you in movies, it does not matter whether you know it is true or not, whether they are real or not real. If you allow yourself to immerse yourself in the story, that story is going to have the power to affect you, as it affected me for the most part of my life. For the most part of my life, I believe a story about myself. Sometimes I don't believe it. Sometimes I know it is not real. But because I told myself that story for a very long time, that has resonated in me, and it has caused me to lack confidence for the most part of my life. Now, this is what happens when you allow yourself to listen to a story repeatedly. It affects you. It does not matter whether they are real or not. It will affect you. Just the way we are affected by the movies we know for sure are not real. If you choose to listen and allow yourself to relate to a story, that story would affect you. Some people, if they want to exploit you, they tell you a story. If they want to put your confidence down, they tell you a story. If they want you to get scared of them, to be afraid of them, they tell you a story. Now, this is how you break free from that. As I told you, you have to view life through a story. Now, if a person confronts you with a story that demands you to be afraid, the best thing to do is to tell yourself an alternative story. The story that you tell yourself would immediately counter his story and immediately, almost immediately, change your mood from submitting to what he is telling you to challenging what he is telling you. And the more you believe in the story that you tell yourself, and the beautiful part of it is, if you choose to tell your own story, you tell it in the most spectacular way, and you tell a story that boosts your confidence level. It tells you a story that makes you stand for yourself. It tells you a story that makes you not be afraid of anybody who wants to make you afraid by the virtue of the story they tell you. So this, my friend, is how stories have the power to affect us, whether they are real or not. Two things I'm doing, and it has been helping me, is to tell myself a story every day. And that is the story that I would be the best person I can ever be. And all I need to do is to just keep moving. The stories I tell myself every day keeps me moving. Some of us have come from some of the most unfavorable backgrounds. And when you come from those backgrounds, you can tell yourself two kinds of stories. You can tell a story that will victimize you and cripples you and lower your confidence level, and you will never mount to anything. That story will defeat you. That story will limit your potential, as it has limited me for a very long time. And at the same measure, you can tell yourself an alternative story. And that is a story that will raise your confidence level. So every day you can tell a story that even though, despite the fact that I have these circumstances, I have no option but to make it in life. So this story will raise your confidence, would give you some meaning and purpose in life, and you would never get crippled. You will never get tired pushing in life. So it's all about the stories. Every reality is shaped by a story. Every reality has a story at its background. If you want to create a better reality and live in it, all you have to do is to tell yourself the better story, because there is always a better story to tell. Some story will put you down and some stories will raise you up. The question is, which story do you want to tell yourself? Now, I hope this has helped you, and if this has added any value to you at all, please hit the subscribe button and I will appreciate it. Thank you very much. Live your life.